Hi, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. Well, for this week's guitar lesson, you're going to learn how to play a laid-back minor key blues that's played solo guitar. And that means there's no accompaniment needed. You don't need a jam track or anyone to play along with. You can play this on an acoustic or electric guitar. So just grab whatever guitar you've got and follow along in this video. And we're going to break it all down note for note. So you're going to not only learn the notes, but I'll explain the why behind the notes so that you understand how they work, so that you can start to improvise and write your own compositions like this. And it's not as difficult as you might think. So this is a great way to learn. Not only are you learning the material, but you've got a composition that you can play for other people at the end of it. So I've got the lesson split into two parts. In this video, we'll take a look at the first half. If you'd like to watch the second half and get the tablature for this lesson, you can get all of that by going to ActiveMelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP267. Alright, so this song is in the key of E minor, and it's basically just a 1-4-5 chord progression. That's your standard chord progression that's used in country and blues, but it starts with a minor 1 chord. So if you were using the number system to describe this, you'd say it's a minor 1, a 4, and a 5. And that's a powerful effect to go from the minor 1 to the major 4. You hear that in a lot of songs, and it becomes something that doesn't want to resolve. You can go back and forth between a minor and a major chord like that, just go on forever, and it's easy to improvise over. And so I think of songs like Take 5, Dave Brubeck. You know, you got that minor to the major, and it can go on forever. Or My Sweet Lord, George Harrison is another good example. And we could go on, but you get the point. It's that minor to the major thing. And so when I'm sitting around the house and I'm noodling on the guitar, which I do all the time, I find myself getting in grooves like that, where I find a minor 1 chord and a major 4 chord, and I go back and forth, and I start to improvise, and music starts to happen from that minor to major chord. So if you're ever stuck in a rut and you're looking for some ideas for how to maybe create a song, try doing that. That's something that might actually inspire you. So the chords are going to be an E minor chord, then there's an E minor 7. That's where you just take your E minor and you add the 3rd fret 2nd string. Now I use my pinky for that. You may want to use different fingers. The fingering doesn't matter so much here. So you have your E minor 7, then your A chord, bar the first 4 strings on the 2nd fret, play strings 5, 4, 3, and 2. And then you've got your A7 chord. That's just where you take that A chord and you add the 3rd fret 1st string. And those are basically your chords. The only other chord is the 5 chord, which is the B7 chord. And so that's really all you have to think about with the left hand. There's a few single string little solo parts that we're going to use as fills, but for the most part that's it. Now, it starts with an intro, and I'll go over this once and then we'll kind of set it aside so that we can start to loop some of these parts. But that's the intro. Now, this is a great little intro. You can use this as a fill lick when you're playing in the key of E minor, and it's easy to play. All you're doing is you're hammering on the E minor chord. That's how I think of it. So it starts with the open 5th string, and then I hammer on the entire chord there. So go ahead and hammer on the 2nd fret 5th string, but then my ring finger goes down as well on the 2nd fret 4th string. So that's a downstroke with the right hand, and then an upstroke on the 4th string, which is an E note, and then you play the low E note, which is the open 6th string. So all together, that's a great fill lick, as I mentioned. So if you're playing something in E minor, you hear that in lots of songs, like country songs and stuff. But just remember that as a takeaway. It's a good little fill lick. But I'm using it as an intro. Alright, so this first little part we're going to learn sounds like this. So let's just learn that piece first, and then we'll go on to the next part. So we're going to start by playing the E minor chord with the left hand. And again, you can use either these 2 fingers or these 2 fingers. It can be done either way. But we're going to start with the open 6th string, the open E string there, and then we're going to play strings 1, 2, and 3, which are also open, top part of that E minor chord. So we have, and those are both downstrokes. And then we're going to come back to the 6th string and hit it twice. But this time we're going to palm mute. So we're going to take the palm of your hand here and rest it on the strings, so you get a little more of a muted sound. So when we put it all together, we have Should sound like that. Now the next thing, this is where that E minor 7 chord comes in. So you're going to keep that E minor chord shape, but you're going to add your pinky to the 3rd fret 2nd string. Now what I'm doing for this, there's 2 ways you can do it. I'm hybrid picking, so I'm using these 2 fingers, my ring finger and my middle finger, to pluck strings 2 and 3. If you don't want to hybrid pick that, you're going to have to use your flat pick and do an upstroke on those 2 strings. It's a little harder to be accurate. I'm telling you, it's easier if you get the hybrid picking thing down. So we have. Now after that, there's a muted downstroke. That's just where we're just going to come down and create a little percussive element. And that's really just to get your hand in the down motion so that you can play the next thing. So all together, slowly, we have. Now the next part, we're going to go into the A chord, the major chord. And again, I'm using my middle finger and ring finger on my right hand to pluck strings 2 and 3. Now all I've done with the left hand is I've switched to the A chord. But you're going to play those 2 strings first and then the bass note. That's what gives it that groove. You're actually staggering the notes. You're coming in a little ahead of the beat so that the bass note can come in where it needs to, which is always in the same place. And it makes sense when you hear it in context. Hear that? So you can either pluck those 2, strings 2 and 3, or you can do an upstroke with your pick. And then you're going to do a downstroke on the open 5th string, which is that A note. And then there's another muted strum there. All right, so all together from the beginning we have. Now the next part goes like this. So it gets us back to that E minor. Let me play it again. Look how it's starting. It's starting with that open 5th string, that A note, and it's muted, it's palm muted. So if I'm just isolating just the bass note, it goes like this. Ba 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 ba. So now it's what gives it that swagger is when you're kind of you're playing the bass note, but you're also adding in the top part of that A7 chord with it. And this is where you are going to have to hybrid pick. So you're going to use the same 2 fingers, middle finger and ring finger, to pluck strings 1 and 2. So you're going to start with that open 5th string, and then you're going to play the 5th string again, but at the same time you're going to play strings 1 and 2 behind this A7 chord. So you got. So just practice that. Now you're going to play that strings 1 and 2 again without the 5th string. So putting it all together, you have. And then you're going to add one more of the A notes, or the open 5th string, right there. And then you're going to hit that open 1 string to get you back to the E minor chord. So that's how you get back to the E minor chord. That's probably the most challenging part in this whole thing, is just getting the timing right for that. Start to feel it coming together. Now don't do anything else until you can get that down. All the lead licks and stuff, all those little fill licks won't make any sense unless you can get the rhythm down. And that's really the point of this lesson, is for you to understand how that rhythm goes together. So why do you want to play a rhythm like this? Well, there's obviously a lot of reasons why this would come in. All these techniques would come in handy if you were playing with a full band. But I'd say the biggest majority of this audience are people that just play at home, or maybe you're entertaining people by yourself, you're not in a band. And this is where this kind of playing becomes very useful, because you really are kind of covering all the bases. You're doing the bass notes, you're doing the rhythm, the lead, fill licks, and all of that stuff. It becomes much more entertaining than somebody just sitting around strumming chords. So, from the beginning then, we have... Second time. So we're going to learn that. Easy to play. So all I'm doing is I'm thinking minor pentatonic scale, because remember we're E minor. So I'm sliding from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret on the 3rd string with my middle finger. And then I put my index finger down on the 3rd fret 2nd string. And then I'm going to take that shape and slide it up 2 frets, which is just 2 notes in that A chord, right? And then I'm going to come up here with my ring finger to the 8th fret 2nd string down to the 5th fret 2nd string. So all together. And while you're playing that vibrato, come down and hit that open E string, which is going to be your cue to reset the rhythm. Alright, so backing up we have, and then we come down to this E minor chord again, and I hang out on the chord until I get to the 5 chord, and that's the B7 chord. Okay, and so this becomes our little turnaround. And that's just playing off of that 5 chord. Now that's an octave thing where we're playing on the 5th string and the 3rd string. So I've got, and that's just a B note, so we're playing the B7 chord here. I'm sliding up to 2 octaves of the B, and then I'm walking it down to an A, which is our next chord. So that's the index fingers on the 2nd fret 5th string. My pinky is up here on the 4th fret 3rd string. We're going to take that, and I'm hybrid picking that. Picking on the 5th string, plucking on the 3rd string with my ring finger. So we're going to take that, we're going to slide it down, and then we're going to slide it down again. This time it's just my pinky and the open 5th string, which is the A. Those are 2 A notes. And then I could have went back and played the A7 chord there, and that would have worked fine, but instead I played a lead lick that got us right back to the 1 chord, which is... It's a really cool lick when you're playing an E minor, so remember this as a little takeaway because it's easy to play. But I'm just sliding from the 2nd fret up to the 4th fret on the 3rd string. We're doing that again. And then we're going to play the open 1 string and the open 2 string. So, kind of cool. You're just taking advantage of those 2 notes. Well, those are notes that are in the E minor chord, right? So that's all I'm doing is I'm just hitting one, really I'm just sliding into 1 note, and then I'm going into sort of the default notes out of the chord. So after that, I slide back down to the 2nd fret from the 4th fret, open 3rd string, 2nd fret 4th string. And then I'm in position to play the E minor chord again. Alright, so that's all the parts. Let me back up and play through this one more time so you have a slow version of this here at the end, and then I'll see you in part 2 and we'll learn the second half. It's a whole different ball game. We're going to be playing in different positions on the neck and learning a lot more lead licks. But here we go from the beginning.